Participatory Coastal Resource Assessment Introduction. For the overview of coastal resource management, first we should know what coastal resource management is, and it refers to the wise use of coastal resources to promote sustainable development in coastal areas. Such coastal resources are the natural resources found in coastal areas, which includes the individual species such as fish, as well as the complex habitats and ecosystems that support them. These coastal resources generally include other often important resources, such as those with archaeological, historic, sacred, or gender-specific significance. To maximize the utility of coastal resources, much of the management effort is devoted to regulating human behavior and activities in coastal areas. It is emphasized that a successful management requires multi-sectoral collaboration and strong community participation. In the context of the Philippines and in the Local Government Code of 1991, the Coastal Resource Management, or the CRM, focuses on the integrated management, which allows local and national government agencies to work most effectively with the non-government organizations, or the NGOs, research institutions, private businesses, and resource users organizations such as the fisher folks organizations. CRM can be represented as the cycle. First is to gather information. Here you collect secondary information, you collect the baseline information through baseline assessment, producing coastal area profile, doing project impact monitoring and evaluation, and other research activities. Next you can do is the institutional development. In here, community organizations and development, the CRM Council formation, and the human resource development. Next, you will do the planning, wherein you will do enacting laws and regulations, drafting management plans, and designing projects. And next is the implementation, which people will be obeying, or you will enforcing laws and regulations to the community, and next is to implement management plans and conducting projects. And here you can repeat the cycle over and over again to produce a quality and effective coastal resource management initiatives for the conservation of a certain or a particular area.
This is John Fetalvera, and I'm going to discuss about the participatory coastal resource assessment process. Resource evaluation is done to help make the multiple decisions required to develop and implement successful CRM. Resource evaluation gathers and analyzes environmental, ecological, social, and economic data. Resource assessment is most useful in CRM when the information collected and analyzed helps managers to understand the past, present, and potential usefulness of coastal resources, and in identifying limits and opportunities for coastal resources to contribute to ecologically sustainable economic growth in coastal communities. PCRA, or Participatory Coastal Resource Assessment, focuses on resource assessment from the perspective of coastal resource users in the immediate vicinity of the site. It is also very useful and important to have scientifically acquired information during the resource analysis process. However, the type of information gathered by scientists is different than the type of information gathered from coastal resource users, as are the techniques used to collect the data. PCRA is a complicated procedure. It consists of multiple interconnected components, the most important of which are as follows: collecting documented information, direct observation and participation in a local coastal resource system assessment, purposeful gathering of local knowledge, generation of local feedback, primarily from local resource users, on the information collected, and integration of all information gathered through these components into a document known as Coastal Area Profile, which serves as an important information source during participatory planning sessions. Next, here is we have figure where we can see collecting data, collecting documented information, observation and participation, updating local, gathering local knowledge, which will all fall to analyzing and integrating all information to produce coastal area profile. Lastly, is coastal area profiles are a crucial product of the initial PCRA process, and they should be included in any final PCRA report. The coastal area profile is a document that organizes and integrates all of the data and information acquired during resource assessment activities into a logical and understandable format.
I'm Regine Durego, and I will be presenting the benefits of participatory coastal resource assessment. The participatory coastal resource assessment is quite beneficial to a lot of individuals, especially when done successfully. It offers at least 4 beneficial outcomes. One of which is that the important pieces of information that would otherwise not be obtained and considered using local knowledge of resource locations is made available for CRM planning purposes. Resource management is also made more participatory as local fishers and resource users are more intimately involved in an essential first phase of CRM. Local users will also more likely participate actively in subsequent phases of the CRM process and contribute to decisions that will be supported by the community. Lastly, PCRA also demonstrates the relevance of the information provided by the resource users and shows how the information is used for management needs. PCRA methods has a lot of advantage because they produce spatial details about the coastal area, such as locations of productive reefs not shown in maps, temporal details such as seasonal fish spawning aggregations, and provide insights and trends in resource abundance and levels of exploitation that cannot be obtained from other sources. In conclusion, PCRA assists in the development of well-informed, sustainable, and implementable coastal resource management plans. It also aids local fishermen and other resource users in becoming more productive participants in and beneficiaries of projects involved in coastal resource management.
So today I'm going to talk about the framework for participatory coastal resource assessment in coastal resource management. Participatory coastal resource assessment methods described here will allow community workers to work with local fishers and other coastal resource users to generate valuable information for coastal resource management planning and implementation. This is done while simultaneously improving community participation and local empowerment. So what is a PCRA? PCRA stands for Participatory Coastal Resource Assessment and is most useful in the learning or information gathering phase of coastal resource management. This is important for generating the baseline information presented in the coastal area profiles as well as for measuring indicators of the success of CRM projects. So the PCRA process involves the collaboration of a number of organizations and agencies. So first one you need to do is to gather existing information. So PCRA is an information-based process, and a good way to start is with existing documented information, including reports, planning documents, legal documents, maps, satellite images, and photographs. Second is to do direct observation and participation. So what does this mean? Direct observation and participation in assessing the local coastal resource system involves organizing the community, validating the information you collected, and gathering about the local coastal resource system through direct observation and participation in habitat and resource assessment. It also requires proficiency in community entry and other aspects in effective community organizing and development in Philippines coastal communities and habitat and resource assessment. Thirdly is for purposeful gathering of local knowledge. So this involves the use of data gathering methods, which are accomplished to some extent through household surveys and interviews with individuals or workshops conducted with groups. The fourth step is for the generation of local feedback. The PCRA process must encourage feedback from resource users. Local feedback is crucial as local resource users are more likely to consider in their planning decisions information that they help generate than information that comes from outside sources. And lastly, the analysis and integration of information generated into a document called Coastal Area Profile. So the Coastal Area Profile, a document which presents the results of PCRA field methods in ways that will assist CRM planning decisions, is one of the most important outcomes of PCRA. The basic descriptive information provided by profiles is useful, but the value of a good profile lies also in the compilation and analysis of the information it provides. From this point forward, I will discuss the framework for using PCRA methods. Note that several basic types of methods are used repeatedly and in different combinations to produce the numerous different kinds of outputs that fall into the various profile content headings and project indicator types. So I think that this is an intergenerational responsibility wherein that all people within the community affected by these ecosystems or are benefiting directly from these ecosystems have a responsibility to protect and conserve their natural resources. So what are the key features of PCRA methods? So it is a multifaceted process which is made from the perspective of resource users, and it integrates the knowledge of coastal resource users and stakeholders of experts. So why do these PCRA methods help in the conduction of the community profile? So it makes local knowledge available for CRM planning. Next is it makes resource management more participatory. Third, it encourages people participation in subsequent CRM phases. And lastly, it demonstrates the relevance of local information in resource management. As shown in the slide, this is the framework for using PCRA methods that will help us outline our coastal and resource management plans. So in the first column is the general project indicator type. In the second column, we have the general profile or content heading. In the third, we have specific outputs produced. In the fourth column are the PCRA methods that are employed. In the fifth is the scientific discipline considered, and last column consists of the possible collaborators and information sources. In the first one is the environmental or ecological project indicator type. So in the physical setting, we need some geophysical overview including the land, the sea floor, and the coastal habitat classifications. We also need the overview of coastal forests, rivers, and watershed status, as well as some thematic and locator maps. So what are the PCRA methods employed? First is to identify and classifying physical elements of the coastal environment by drawing transects. Individual and group mapping, drawing timelines, documenting historical trends, and lastly, mapping. So this involves the disciplines such as geography, geology, forestry, hydrology, agronomy, ethnogeography, and cartography. And most of the government agencies are involved could be the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and the Department of Public Ways and public works and highways, as well as the NAMRIA and other existing maps. Next is the climate, which provides descriptions and diagrams of seasons, rainfall, winds, and temperature using drawing from calendar diagrams. So it is part of the climatology scientific discipline, which may be participated by PAG-ASA, DA, and DENR. On the other hand, we have the oceanography. In this section, we will have to describe we have descriptions, diagrams, and maps of bathymetry, the current or circulation patterns, the tidal flow, waves, water quality, eddies, runoff patterns. So in one of our coastal resource management assessment, we use the sea surface current in order for us to identify what surface currents are available or are dominant in the community. These can be done by mapping, drawing calendar diagrams, drawing timelines or trend diagrams, as well as documenting historical trends. So it is actually part of the oceanography, and NAMRIA, PAG-ASA, Marina, universities, research institutions can participate in such endeavor. The fourth one is the important habitats such as the coral reefs. All descriptions focus on ecological factors influencing past, current, and potential economic productivity. So what are the outputs that can be produced? First is the description, diagrams, and maps of coral reefs, local or equivalent, live coral cover, coral and fish diversity, cultured species or potentials, as well as care uses and rescue issues. In order to do this, we have to identify associated resources mapping and documenting historical trends. And scientific disciplines include marine biology, ecology, and zoology. So DA, DNR, and universities research institutions can participate in these activities. Next are the seagrass beds, mangroves, beaches, and estuaries. So the specific outputs are actually still the same, such as describe having to provide descriptions, diagrams, and maps of seagrass beds, mangrove forests, and other soft bottom habitats. We also have the diversity and the fish, seaweed, and mangrove abundance, cultured species, and many more. So what are the PCRA methods employed, especially for seagrass beds? One is to identify associated resources, mapping, documenting historical trends. This can also be applied to mangroves. And scientific disciplines involved in these activities are phycology, marine biology, botany, ecology. So it's still the same that the DNA and DNR and other university research institutions are responsible for this. Meanwhile, for the beaches and estuaries, we have to measure the length, width, level of disturbance, pollution, erosion, fish catch trends, level of pollution, and nutrient cycles in order this can be done by group mapping, transect diagram, field assessment, trend diagrams, and controlled fishing trend or seasonal diagram. So it can still be participated by the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Meanwhile, for lagoons and bays, we will produce an output based on fish catch, trends, pollution, and contamination. Some of the PCRA methods that will be employed are group interviews, mapping, trend diagrams. So this is covered under the oceanography, water quality sampling, the current studies. And DA, DNR, universities, research institutions can collaborate in this activity too. We have also the natural resources such as fish and vertebrates and plants. So specific outputs produced are inventories and local classification systems. We can do this by identifying and classifying as well as drawing transects. Geography, ecology, taxonomy are also part of this, while DA, DNR, university research institutions, and museums can participate in information sources. Next section of the PCRA methods framework is the socio-economic or institutional resource users and issues. In fisheries, we will be able to describe draw diagrams and maps of production by species, gears, community assessment of past, current, and potential productivity. We can do this by identifying species and local names, drawing calendars, diagrams, and mappings. This is part of the fisheries sciences, wherein DA and as well as DNR can participate in this activity. Meanwhile, other local resource users, past and present coastal resource management, other stakeholders, management issues and alternatives for development monitoring and mitigation, as well as recommendations, will also be part of the socio-economic institutional resource users and issues. So specific outputs are still the same, such as the description and diagrams, including the LGUs, national agencies and NGOs and their projects, activities, laws, regulations, as well as the composition of local interests and roles in coastal resource use. We can also obtain data on the current constraints on sustainable coastal resource management, as well as recommend management interventions. So these methods these can be done in a variety of methods, such as household surveys, documenting historical trends, drawing diagrams, mapping, identifying involved entities, interviewing representatives, identifying other stakeholders, and integrating information, eliciting, formulating, and validating recommendations, all of which can be participated by RDCs, all involved government agencies, as well as the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources.